Coming up on News 11, SUNY Fredonia Radio Systems Rock in the Commons returns to Barker Commons this upcoming Saturday. The island of Puerto Rico deals with the aftermath of Hurricane Fiona, and thousands are mourning the death of Queen Elizabeth. These stories and more, News 11 starts right now. Good evening and welcome to News 11. I'm Chloe Kowalik.
And I'm Andy Velez-Davis.
We have a lot of stories, so let's get right into it. 2 annual events are returning to SUNY Fredonia this month. First up, a fan favorite local event is coming back to Fredonia this Saturday, September 24th. Rock in the Commons, hosted by Fredonia Radio Systems, is a charity event where all proceeds will be donated to the Roswell Park Cancer Institute. The event will feature live music, a basket raffle, a food truck, and more. This is the first time in a few years that the event will be held in Barker Commons due to issues related to the pandemic, unfortunate weather, and downtown construction. Rock in the Commons will be from 11 in the morning to 7 in the evening. If you can't make it to the event in person, WNYF will be live streaming the event on our YouTube channel.
SUNY Fredonia has announced its annual Fredonia Marksonia celebration and has set the date for September 29th. On Thursday, a reception celebrating the opening of an exhibit related to music and the Marx Brothers will be held in SUNY Fredonia's Reed Library. The display will be up through October 16th. The reception is in honor of the Marx Brothers. The Marx Brothers' 1933 movie Duck Soup is set in the fictional country of Fredonia using the connection Fredonia Marksonia. Marx Brothers Film Festival and Symposium began in 1987 at Fredonia when marketing major Douglas Canham, class of '87, proposed the idea of an annual Marx Brothers Festival to the university president, Dr. Donald McPhee. The objective of the annual festival was to incorporate academics and fun while involving the university and the village of Fredonia.
Chautauqua County first responders are making an effort to give back even more to the community by holding a charity hockey game in Jamestown. Co-founder and president of Community Through Hockey, Eric Herman, says that the upcoming event will have police officers and firefighters from all across the county coming to a head, battling it out for a noble cause, charity. Herman added that, quote, the 2 teams will be playing the Line of Courage Spartans. That is, members of the Jamestown Fire Department, Police Department, City of Dunkirk Police Department, and the Fire Department, New York State Police, Chautauqua County Sheriff's Office, and then we'll be playing the Lakeview Shock Bulldogs. They're all correctional officers from Lakeview Shock in Brockton. All proceeds go to Kids and Sibs, a summer day camp at Camp Anyasha in Dewitteville. While the game is free to attend, Community Through Hockey will be fundraising with basket raffles and a 50-50 ticket drawing. The game will take place at 7 p.m. on October 1st at the Northwest Savings Bank Ice Arena. Since their founding in 2015, Community Through Hockey has raised over $52,000 towards many local charities.
The Orchard Park community is mourning the loss of the 2021 Orchard Park High School graduate Carson Senfield. Senfield was a student at the University of Tampa who was shot and killed early Saturday morning. Maria Braun, a teacher at Orchard Park High School, said, quote, I think one of the worst things about being a teacher is hearing that one of your students passed away. It was around 1:30 in the morning when Tampa police say Senfield had just gotten out of an Uber near his home when he tried to get into another car nearby. The driver of that car told police he feared for his safety and shot Senfield out of self-defense. Back here at home, his family and friends are now holding on to the memories they have. A GoFundMe page was set up in memory of Senfield. The page already received over $103,000 for his family.
A 64-year-old Buffalo man has been indicted for stealing more than $250,000 from a victim in the town of Amherst. Williamsville man Victor P. Marinaccio was charged with 1 count of grand larceny in the 2nd degree. The crime took place over 4 years, where Marinaccio is said to have misrepresented himself and used the victim's credit card to pay for travel expenses. He allegedly used the victim's life savings. If convicted, Marinaccio faces a maximum of 15 years in prison. A return court date has not yet been scheduled at this time.
A fire broke out on Tuesday morning, leaving 11 businesses covered in soot. The fire took place in the West Side Bazaar of Buffalo around 6:30 in the morning. It left nearly $300,000 of damages and was deemed an accident. The Westminster Economic Development Initiative, also known as WEDI, is the nonprofit behind the bazaar. Earlier in the year, they mentioned moving the location to Niagara, but said the location will not be ready for another year. In the meantime, they are actively searching for a place for the businesses to go and are turning to the community for support. Akek Aguirre, the owner of the Nile River restaurant and the bazaar, says, quote, "The way I see it, the West Side Bazaar is being good with the community, and community is also supporting the West Side Bazaar," end quote.
Moving along to statewide news, for New York State, dog shock collars may soon be a thing of the past. Assemblywoman Linda Rosenthal of New York City has introduced legislation for a ban on the sale of the devices. Shock collars send an electric current through contact points in the collar into a dog's neck. They are commonly used to avoid excessive barking, jumping, or other unwanted behaviors in pets. Companies such as Petco have stopped selling the shock collars in their stores, citing the use of electricity on pets as inhumane. Other countries have already banned shock collars, including Denmark, Norway, Sweden, and Germany. The legislation would make New York the first state to ban the sale of electric dog collars.
Donald Trump is being sued by New York over misleading asset valuations. The more than 200-page lawsuit alleges the fraud touches all aspects of the Trump business. According to the suit, the Trump organization deceived lenders, insurers, and tax authorities by inflating the value of properties with misleading appraisals. New York's Attorney General alleges Trump lied over 200 times over the course of 10 years about the values of his assets. Also named in the lawsuit are his children, Donald Trump Jr., Eric Trump, and Ivanka Trump, among others. The state is seeking $250 million and to permanently bar Trump and his children from serving as the director of a business registered in New York State. It also aims to cancel the Trump Organization's corporate certificate, which, if granted by a judge, could force the company to stop operating in New York. Trump has previously denied any wrongdoing. He has called the investigation a partisan, quote, with witch hunt, end quote. Now, when we come back, a look at our national headlines, including an update on Puerto Rico and Hurricane Fiona. We'll be right back.
To Sofia and Gabriel, mis flores, my little flowers. Even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. So you can take me with you wherever you go, near or far. These stitches and threads join us together. Me, your mother, and both of you. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you. As you bring our colorful stories to the world.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
An old woman who lived in a shoe. She had so many children she didn't know what to do. She gave them some broth without any bread and kissed them all soundly and put them to bed. Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org.
On Sunday, September 18th, Hurricane Fiona, a Category 1 storm, made landfall on the island of Puerto Rico. This came after the 5-year anniversary of Hurricane Maria, a Category 4 hurricane that devastated the island in September of 2017. However, Fiona's winds and rain caused just as much damage as the previous storm, leaving the island in a total blackout and residents without water for several days. The floodwaters receded in most neighborhoods, and several people were in need of rescue from their own homes. As of recently, President Joe Biden approved a major disaster declaration for Puerto Rico. The declaration will grant access to emergency individual and public assistance for residents affected by the storm. Despite the assistance that's underway, residents on the island are calling for more help.
The Department of Justice has announced charges against 47 people who they say stole from a pandemic program meant to provide meals for needy children. The DOJ accuses the defendants of defrauding $250 million from the federal child nutrition program. According to officials, those charged in the scheme set up a network of shell companies connected to the Minnesota-based nonprofit Feeding Our Future. Prosecutors say they claimed to feed thousands of children every day, but they instead used more than $250 million to buy luxury cars, real estate, jewelry, and fund international trips. The defendants now face a range of charges including conspiracy, wire fraud, and money laundering, as well as paying and receiving illegal kickbacks.
Drug overdose deaths in the U.S. increased sharply throughout the pandemic, reaching record levels in 2020 to 2021. But the burden on different racial and ethnic groups changed. A study by the federal researchers found ages 15 to 34, white people had the highest rate of overdose deaths in 2018. But by 2021, American Indian and Alaska Native people had the highest rate of overdose deaths in this age group. For ages 35 to 64, American Indian and Alaska Native people had the highest rate of overdose deaths in 2018. By 2021, overdose death rates among Black men ages 35 to 64 were higher than any other demographic group. The researchers said the findings underscore the urgency of expanding prevention, treatment, and harm reduction interventions tailored to specific populations.
Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson was sworn into the 104th Supreme Court Justice this June, becoming the first African-American woman to sit on the High Court. And next Friday, she will take part in what's known as the investiture ceremony, where she'll once again take the oath to serve on the Supreme Court. It's purely ceremonial since Jackson is already on the job. And speaking of on the Supreme Court, Florida is asking the Supreme Court to rule on a new social media law. The law allows political candidates to sue social media platforms if they are blocked or removed for more than 14 days. Tech industry companies that oppose the Florida measure are arguing it infringes on the First Amendment rights of private companies. But one of the opponents, Net Choice, says it welcomes Florida's petition to the High Court to help settle the matter. Legal experts are concerned a ruling in favor of the law could force tech companies to host spam and hate speech on their platforms.
A new report claims one of the top social media platforms is delivering misinformation to its young users. NewGuard's Misinformation Monitor published its research report last week. According to that report, nearly 20% of the videos that appear when you search TikTok contain some form of misinformation. Researchers say they compared search engine results from TikTok and Google this month on major news topics, including the 2020 presidential election and Russia's war in Ukraine. According to NewsGuard, TikTok, quote, repeatedly delivered videos containing false claims in the first 20 results, often within the first 5, end quote. Researchers also found TikTok's search engine contained health misinformation and dangerous claims. A TikTok spokesperson reacted to the report, saying its community guidelines make it clear that it does not allow harmful misinformation, including medical misinformation, and that it partners with independent fact-checkers and credible voices to assess the accuracy of its content.
The global supply chain backup continues to hurt the auto industry. Ford says it will end the month with between 40,000 and 45,000 unfinished large pickups and SUVs due to the missing parts. On Monday, the company also noted shortages and rising prices of supplies would cost them an extra $1 billion this quarter. However, Ford said it should still be able to hit its full-year earnings targets because it plans to shift the sales revenue it will get from the nearly completed vehicles into the fourth quarter. The main reason automakers have been struggling with supply chain issues is due to the lack of computer chips, which have choked off vehicle production for most of the last 2 years. Now, when we come back, Sarah Gordon joins us for another exciting update on the Buffalo Bills, and News 11 has a returning weather anchor. We'll be right back.
We've been down there. You gotta do the same. Post office. All you do is sign. So don't get nervous. Sign your name. Selective service. It takes no time. Just sign on the line at the post office. Selective service.
Hey guys, if you're about to turn 18, you've got to register with Selective Service. It's simple. Just go down to the post office, fill out a card, and turn it in. That's all there is to it. There's no draft now. You're just adding your name to Selective Service's list in case there's a national emergency.
So if you're 18 now, Selective Service, you gotta get down. Post office.
Register with Selective Service. It's quick, it's easy, and it's the law.
Takes no time. Just sign on the line at the post office. Selective Service.
guys, if you're about to turn 18, you got to register with Selective Service. It's simple. Just go down to the post office, fill out a card, and turn it in. That's all there is to it. There's no draft now. You're just adding your name to Selective Service's list in case there's a national emergency.
So if you're 18 now, Selective Service, you gotta get down. Post office.
Register with Selective Service. It's quick, it's easy, and it's the law.
Takes no time. Just sign on the line at the post office. Selective Service.
We're now joined by Sarah Gorton for her sports update. And Sarah, I know there's a lot of local Fredonia sports action that's happened this week. What can you tell us about that?
Well, there might have been a lot of action for Fredonia sports this week, but unfortunately it wasn't a very positive one. In the start of the battle by the lake between Buffalo State and Fredonia, Buff State had a clean sweep of 3 sports yesterday. In women's volleyball, Buff State won yesterday in 3 straight sets. Leading the Blue Devils was Erin Callahan with 11 kills, Laura Sherman with 2 aces, and Courtney Kirchniak with 26 assists. Men's soccer was away yesterday playing Buff State, getting shut out in the match 2-0. Will Richardson had 6 saves and nets for the Devils. The Devils are now 1-4-2 and 0-1-1 in conference play. The Fredonia State women's soccer team dropped its Sunyak opener 2-1 at Buffalo State on Wednesday. Both teams scored within the first few minutes of the game, before Buffalo State got the game winner in the 59th minute. Bree Grayson scored the lone goal for the Blue Devils. The women will play their next game Saturday at New Paltz. And in more optimistic news, the Buffalo Bills have won their 2nd game of the season, bringing their record to 2-0. The Bills blew out their 2nd straight team, beating the Tennessee Titans 41-7. Josh Allen kept up with his hot start, throwing for 317 yards and 4 touchdowns. Stephon Diggs had another Monday Night Superstar game, recording 12 catches, 149 yards, and had a hat trick of touchdowns. The fun stat between these two, neither of them even played in the 4th quarter. The defense also played like a Super Bowl caliber team, recording 4 turnovers for the Bills. And even though the Buffalo did have to punt, they made the most of it, recovering a fumble on their first punt in 4 games. The Bills play the 2-0 Miami Dolphins this Sunday at 1 p.m. in Miami.
All right, I gotta tell everybody, Sarah and I are roommates.
Yes, we are.
So I have witnessed Sarah watching the Bills game, and let me tell you, it's crazy. She is the most energetic and excited person I've ever seen, and it's like she's more fun to watch than the game is. Like honestly.
Oh, thank you, Chloe.
Yes,
I mean, that's
of
not
course.
true at all.
No,
But
like you're
certainly-
crazy. Like it's great.
It is a sight to see.
Yes. So we're now joined for the first time this semester by Mike for his first weather forecast.
Well, for my first weather report, I have some good news and I have some bad news. So let's get the bad news out of the way first. Tonight, the cooler weather we felt throughout the day will continue tonight with a chance of light rain here or there. Temperatures will be sitting right around 57 degrees, and the winds are going to be pretty present with gusts of upwards of 30 miles an hour. Looking ahead to tomorrow, our first great fall day, we should be seeing sunshine all day with temperatures as cool as 58 degrees. Wind should be down too with gusts only at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Definitely a great way to start the new season. I'll have the rest of your forecast later on the show. Back to you guys.
Thank you so much, Mike. We'll see you one more time in just a little bit. Now, when we come back, we have your international headlines. We'll be right back.
This one's for the real ballers and shot callers, the sisterhood of women in tech. They're discovering cures, building apps, and programming the blockchain. They're CEOs, worldwide hustlers who can make it rain. They're tearing down the old boys club and seeing big gains. Because when women in tech come together, you know they make that change.
Every day,
millions of people are connecting.
and even though we're overcoming obstacles,
watching each other's backs,
and banding together.
we should still make an effort.
We should still make an effort.
to get to know each other,
on a deeper level.
Father,
cosplayer,
Mentor.
actor.
It's time we take a step forward.
It's time we take a step forward.
Come together
and discover
how accepting our differences
can make us stronger.
How prepared is your family if a hurricane shows up at your doorstep, or a flood, or a blizzard? You can't just turn away a natural disaster. That's why it's important to go to ready.gov/plan now. It has the tools and tips you need to make an emergency plan with your family. So if disaster comes knocking,
Let's go.
you'll be ready to help keep your family safe.
It's just a pizza.
Yes.
Make a plan today.
Thousands are paying their final tributes to Queen Elizabeth II, who passed away on September 8, 2022. She was 96 years old. Many world leaders, including United States President Joe Biden and Emperor Naruhito of Japan, also gave their condolences. The Queen's funeral was the largest since the funeral of Nelson Mandela in South Africa back in 2013. The queue to pay respects was long, with 24-hour wait times. The Queen's reign lasted 7 decades, which spanned the lives of many. Many civilians prided their queen in being a strong female leader for their country and had enjoyed watching her throughout the years. Great feelings of sadness and despair were common throughout Britain. Now Britain moves into a new age with King Charles III as their heir to the throne.
On Monday, the Chinese government issued draft regulations that aim to increase tourism along the border. According to a draft policy released by China's Ministry of Culture and Tourism, tour groups organized by travel agencies in China's border areas will be able to choose their port of entry and exit flexibility. However, further details on locations and dates were not provided. China has shut its borders to foreign tourists since COVID-19 has started back in 2020, only allowing certain groups of foreign nations or nationals to enter the country, such as those holding valid visas.
Uganda has declared an outbreak of Ebola. A case of the relatively rare Sudan strain was confirmed in the country on Tuesday by the World Health Organization. The WHO's Africa office said the case was confirmed after testing a sample from a 24-year-old man in the country's Mubadane district. Ugandan health authorities investigated 6 suspicious deaths in the district this month. They said, quote, "There are currently 8 suspected cases who are receiving health care in a health facility." Dr. Mahudisu Mawadi, WHO regional director, said, quote, "This is the first time in more than a decade that Uganda is recording the Ebola Sudan strain. We are working closely with the national health authorities to investigate the source of this outbreak," end quote. Uganda last reported an outbreak of Ebola in Sudan in 2012. Now when we come back, trending stories, and Mike joins us for your weekend weather. We'll be right back.
Did you know dragging chains can spark a wildfire?
Only you can prevent wildfires.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
Netflix is casting people for a real-life Squid Game. The Korean drama, created by Hwang Dong-hyuk, became a huge success for Netflix, becoming a global phenomenon as it topped charts. The new show, called Squid Game: The Challenge, is a Netflix reality competition that's looking for 456 real players to enter the game in pursuit of a, quote, life-changing cash experience. $4.56 million will be awarded. The casting call has opened and is open to Americans, Brits, and countries beyond.
Brad Pitt is taking his talents to a whole new genre, sculpting. Pitt has just made his debut in a group exhibition in Finland called, quote, We. He has 9 works displayed, including a house-shaped structure shot up with bullets and a coffin-sized bronze box depicting limbs attempting to break through. Pitt reportedly began making ceramic art following his tumultuous divorce from Angelina Jolie in 2017. He says his artistic turn was born of self-reflection and taking ownership of mistakes he's made. This is the first time Pitt has displayed his work publicly. The show is on view until January 15th.
Bad Bunny had a great summer. The Puerto Rican rapper and singer earned 10 nominations for the upcoming Latin Grammy Awards, including Album of the Year. He received the most nominations of any artist. Rauw Alejandro, followed by 8 nominations. Christina Aguilera, Jorge Drexel, and Rosalia scored 7 each. The 23rd annual Latin Grammys will take place on November 17th in Las Vegas.
Now, Andy, have you seen Squid Game?
I have not seen Squid Games.
It's pretty good. If you're looking for something to binge, you could probably just watch it all in one sitting.
That's fair.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I watched Bridgerton and that was like really good.
Yeah. Into like the Netflix shows lately. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
All right, now we're gonna toss it over to Mike one last time tonight for your weekend forecast. Mike, what do you have for us?
Well, unfortunately for the weekend, it may be a bit more fall weather than we would have really wanted this early. Expect showers for most of the late weekend. Saturday will be the best day to get outside since it'll be pretty nice, similar to Friday. Expect a few more clouds in the sky, but the rain should hold off until Sunday. Temperatures will peak up a little bit to 65 degrees, and the wind shouldn't pick up until Saturday night. Moving along to this Sunday, this is where the weekend gets a little rougher. You should expect rain almost all day with a 90% chance of precipitation throughout the day. Temperatures are going to be even with Saturday sitting right in the middle of the 60s and 65 degrees. Sadly, to start your week, it'll be another wet one outside with more rain all day on Monday. Precipitation percentages stay right around 90%, with temperatures only dipping a little bit into the low 60s. And this seems to be a trend throughout most of next week as well. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Mike.
Yes, thank you. So you're telling me that it's going to be a little chilly for Rockin' the Commons?
It's going to be a little chilly for Rockin' the Commons, unfortunately.
Okay, if anybody sees me all bundled up in a coat, please do not laugh at me.
I'm going to laugh at you.
Oh, no.
Those rainy days are really hard to get out of bed when that happens.
Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. So, all right, well, thank you, Mike. That does it for News 11 this week. Thank you so much to our behind-the-scenes crew.
And of course, thank you to everyone watching at home. We'll be back next week. Have a great night.